So, welcome to episode one of the Makers Making podcast. On this podcast, we're going to be talking to and interviewing makers that are making everything from 3D printed stuff uh, to electronics, costumes, whatever it is that people are out there doing. We're trying to talk to the guys that you don't see every day, the people that are behind the scenes that are responsible for a lot of the things out there that you enjoy, or just people doing cool stuff. So if you're out there and you're doing something cool and you'd like to come on the show and talk to us about something that you're doing, projects you're working on, whatever the case may be, reach out. Let us know. Uh, so, like I said, this is episode number one. There is two sections with some audio issues. Somehow I muted myself for a short period of time. I'm not sure how long. And then at some point my headphones died, which caused audio with our guests to drop off for a minute until I got some new headphones set up. We're going to work on that in the future. That's episode one. I'm new at this. Going to do my best to improve as we go. If you've got input, suggestions, if you've got experience with podcasting and you'd like to reach out and give some tips and tricks, I welcome it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy episode number one. We've got a couple other episodes coming up. One with gentlemen that's making some fantastic hot sauces. We've got hopefully one coming up with a guy that is also on YouTube, but doing a lot of painting and sharing a lot of tips and tricks on 3D printing and painting your 3D prints. And gonna talk to a guy making some cosplay costumes and see if he's interested in coming on. Anyway, enjoy. So, welcome to the Makers Making podcast. I'm Alex. You may know me as Darth Pope on Discords and projects on Dad's Garage here on YouTube. I do a lot of 3D printing lately. Got into that thanks to my son about 6-7 months ago now, and dove into that head first. And other than that, I just it doesn't matter what it is. I enjoy making it, fixing it, tinkering with it, building it.
I'm Caden. I'm his son. Got him into 3D printing, like he said. Currently in the process of getting ASE certified so I could become a mechanic, and I have an internship currently. And I just also enjoy fixing stuff and tinkering and just anything I can get my hands on. Just love taking stuff apart and putting it back together and making it better.
And tonight we're joined by DeathofXbox from the Discord, maker of all things colorful. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm Death of Xbox. Also, my name is also Richard. Pretty much, I am the guy that has a lot of LEDs. I'm also one of the guys behind Bulk Machine Co. To those who follow on the other side of machining and fabrication. So technically, also going to be opening affiliated with Generic Fab because I felt like I really wanted to make a generic company name, and I was like, what's more generic? Just generic fabrication.
That's
Make it
awesome.
more. I just want generic, just as white label as possible because I feel like that's like all the other times, I always want to make some creative company name. I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna be generic today.
Yeah, yeah. White label has its perks, especially if you're doing distribution to other companies that are selling your products. So
That's true, but it was kind of like I don't know. I used to play Division One football, so I was always in the limelight, and I kind of got tired, and I was like, I'm just gonna be generic as possible now. Like I'm done.
yeah, That's
We'll come up with a fancy name once I'm ready for it again.
that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So, um, we'll let you start. What have you been working on lately? What have you been making?
So I've been kind of working on some high voltage servo drivers and some really high density LED stuff lately because I just really like packing as much LEDs into a small little corner as possible.
Nice.
Why not?
Yeah.
The servo drivers are for a different purpose. I have a bunch of like, AC servo motors, but I got the drivers in China and they kind of suck. So I was like, screw this, I'm just gonna build my own driver because it's like I can't find a good third party driver that's good enough for the higher voltages that don't cost $3,000 a pop. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, at
So,
that point, I'm just gonna take a stab at making my own. What's the worst that can happen, right? So,
what size AC servos are we talking?
just your typical 90 millimeter, 750 watt, 1 kilowatt AC servo motors. Nothing crazy. I do have a 3.7 kilowatt servo motor and a 4 kilowatt. I'm also a Fanuc OEM for Vulcan Machine Co. So I have a bunch of Fanuc servos and stuff. I don't want to touch those because those drivers are nice. And
Yeah,
Fanuc
I
is,
work with panic robots all day, every day.
oh my God, it's so old school, but they work so well.
They
Have
do.
you heard of the Fanuc? They got rid of it, but they at one point made something called a Fanuc nano drill.
No, no.
So the Fanuc nano drill was a $2 million CNC mill that could have that had a working like it can achieve tolerances of plus or minus 1 nanometer. So your CPU is fabricated, if you're on a newer one, at a 3 nanometer layer height. They were machining
That's
colors.
insane.
That's how crazy it
That's
was. They were literally
microscopic.
machining colors. And I was sitting there, like, why and how? And I was like, you literally look at it wrong, and it's gonna grow a nanometer. It's like I couldn't. It was incomprehensible on how they managed to achieve such crazy tolerances on a machine. And I mean, anything Fanic related, I've been very impressed with and happy with in terms of reliability and speed and everything. I mean, their direct drive torque motors are insane.
Yeah.
Um, did you go to IMTS?
No.
Oh, dude, they had a Fanic Robo Arm just throwing around a C6 or C7 Corvette.
Yeah, we got ones at work. The each of our assembly lines has the biggest Fanuc robot that Fanuc makes at the end of the line
Hmm.
for picking up and moving pallets.
Yep.
Like shuttle line pallets, not like a
And it moves that thing effortlessly,
yeah.
like nothing. It's insane. It's like you don't even hear a brr. It's like beep beep done.
Yeah, you can dial it up to 2,000 millimeters a second, and it doesn't care.
Oh, sorry.
Giant counterweight on the back of that thing, though. Giant
Oh
counterweight.
yeah, yeah. I think some of them have hydraulic counterweights too because they can't put a big enough mass in it.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
what's on the back of them. It's all hydraulic
the hydraulic
counterweights. That's
ones.
about.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah. So they're nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish they would do something with their UI though. I wish they would do something better with their UI.
There is sexy phonic now, is what they call it. Well, what the community calls it, sexy phonic, which is just a reskin of old phonic, and it's like now in dark mode, and it's like,
Oh yeah, we've got a couple that
ugh.
have that on there, and I like it less.
I remember I went to this DoD shop, and they're full of DMG Moris, and this is like, I'm talking every machine I looked at was like 250K, 350K plus, and they had one with a touchscreen and without, and they're like, we absolutely hate the touchscreen. I was like, that's it? That's your only gripe about it? It's a touchscreen on the control? Like, I was like, I like touchscreens. I don't know why you hate it so
Oh,
much.
dude. So there's one, traditional looks like a traditional Fanuc
Yeah.
control, but it's touchscreen. And picked it up, and I was just holding it, trying to do something else. I didn't realize it, and I'm looking the other direction, and my robot's doing all sorts of stupid stuff behind me because I hit something on the screen. And I did not know it was touchscreen. Fortunately, did not crash it into anything. I was.
Man, those things are terrifying.
I turned around and I'm like, "What?"
What did you do? I was like, "Oh, it's a fucking touchscreen." I feel like they should write like on big yellow like font, like touchscreen, because it's like nobody even knows it. Like their normal controls look the same.
Yeah. Then we got some really old ones that Fanuc doesn't make anymore, and
they still support them. They got parts for them.
Not these ones. These
No,
ones.
I
These ones were used
saying,
when they got them 21 years ago, and they are antiques. Like you know how normally you can hit display and like split the display up into 2 or 3.
Yeah.
There is no option to do that on these.
So the fun thing with Fanuc is that they have, as long as you're a customer base as an original OEM, so me, with the machine company, and that we're shutting down soon. So because life, and so with them is that they actually still have tape reel parts, like the punch cards, like those little punch cards that
Yeah.
you before CNC was CNC. Yeah, they have parts to fully service one of those things because one guy in the US still has one of those machines.
I tell you what I want. So we've got one of the little ones. Oh, what are they? They're like 2 feet tall, but
Yeah.
it's full six range motion articulation, same
Like
as like the big
$15,000
2000
or
series
something.
that we've got on the line. It's just miniature,
Yeah.
and that thing just sits back in the weld shop, not being used for anything because what they were originally going to use it for, they're not. It went a different direction. We don't even make that product anymore. Like, man, I really want that. Just I want to put like an ultra high flow nozzle on the end of that thing and just
Rip.
yeah. What's the chances
yeah.
of getting Clipper to run on that?
Phonics actually supports. You don't need Kipler. This Phonics is beyond Kipler at that point, actually. In terms of performance. So
I know you can send it
just
G code commands.
Yeah, just send a file straight from Slicer.
Yeah.
That's it. The only custom G codes you need to program into PLC, or you don't even need to really program it in. You can just command a 7th axis, right? So you just map the 7th axis to E, and then you just have your a off controller PID thing, and then you're done. That's like the simplest way to do it. You don't have to really do any hacking. You can hack it, obviously. I'm not hack it, but you can program it all in.
Yeah.
Fanuc actually made at INTS a quad extruder 3D printer with a palette changer.
Nice.
Yeah. And also that's like a $400,000 in servos I'm looking at right now. It's like,
yeah, if you're gonna do any sort of printing that's 5-axis printing, stuff like that, like that's the way to go.
yeah, it's 5-axis stuff is honestly Heidelhain or Fanuc. I mean, nothing that beats that right now. Heidelhain's the leader in 5th axis. Fanuc is pretty good, but Heidelhain is definitely very good at that stuff. That's where the motor top tier machine controls uses. But yeah, no, they're on a different level in price.
That's pretty. Yeah, they're awesome. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So next time I'm stuck with my Fanuc robot at work, I know who to message.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You call their support line. There's a guy. Apparently they have a policy is that as long as it's within warranty and something that's like Fanuc is broken, they'll have a guy with a part in the trunk of a car within 24 hours. That's like their ordeal.
Oh yeah, the Fanuc guy was there the other night. The encoder on the back of a servo got demolished, and He's there replacing that and everything. And they they moved the robot out of home position in the process of which we call it. So it wasn't in home position when they reset everything, and then had to reteach everything because the Fanic guy had left by the time they realized that, and it was down the rest of the night until a buddy engineer got there in the morning, and I told him what they were doing, and he's like, "Oh God!" I was like, "Yeah, I know. I tried to tell him, but I'm not maintenance. I'm just an operator. What do I know?" He goes, "Yeah, well," because we all know that story.
Oh, just smash that poor robot's encoder.
Yeah, they were trying to fix another robot and stepped on it or something. I don't know. Maybe ran a cutting head into it. Who knows? Nobody's going to admit to anything.
No one will. It's always third shift. Just blame it on third shift.
No, this was actually first shift that did it.
Oh
um,
wow. Oof.
but so for me, I have been piling up a bunch of upgrades for my printer, which we were supposed to do this week since he was here for spring break, and decided that instead of doing upgrades on printers, he wanted to upgrade an airsoft gun instead. But in the process, I crashed my 2.4 and broke the extruder body. So it's been it's like, well, I guess now it's time. So the tap kit that I have from you, the 5-volt one, not the 24-volt one, is going in there.
Yeah.
And then LGX Lite, I put a clipper screen on there and got kinematic bed mounts and CAN bus and everything else is finally getting put on there that's been sitting in boxes for months. Just
Oh, don't worry. My 2.4 is still relatively air quotes stock. I haven't had the chance to put my CAN bus on the 2.4 yet. I put it on my V0 and then I sold it because I was like, I can't stand these 15 T slots. Like they were just so punishing to me. And then I found like literally 2 weeks, like 2 weeks later, I found there was drop-in T nuts for them.
oh
I
yeah,
was like,
from LDO,
this
the new
this
ones.
would this would have fixed everything. Like I was like, the only reason why I hated my V0 is because I kept on forgetting the goddamn N3 nuts, and to get the N3 nuts back in, you had to take apart the whole goddamn thing again. And you're just like, and now I was like, oh wait, I don't have to do that anymore. So it's like,
Yeah, we'll be building a red one
oh nice.
come this summer. Um, and
They did upgrade the x-axis, I think, on a point two. The point one's x-axis was like I broke a few of those already
yeah, this is
because
going to
it's
be
like it's literally like a
a
little
two.
cantilever with like a little bit of plastic holding it in, and just like yeah,
Yeah, this is going to be a 0.2
yeah.
red LDO frame. Definitely going to order a crap ton of those drop-in nuts.
Oh yeah. Just bulk order them. You'll need them eventually.
Yeah.
Just like you don't buy one N3 screw, you buy a assortment of N3 screws. You know?
Oh yeah. So like hold on a second. Let's see.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so my buddy's dad is an ex-CIA satellite engineer, and when he retired, a hardware store was going out of business, and he bought the entire screw section. So he has like the stuff at Home Depot, you got those little like plastic bins. He has a full section, like a complete section at a hardware store. I'm just like, you're living a dream, my man. You're living a dream. And they had the old prices too from 2008. Oh my god, everything was so cheap back in the day. I mean, really. Yeah. hmm hmm Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, audio. There we go. Oh, I don't know how much of that I don't have audio for. For me, somehow that got clicked.
That was there for.
That's not
Cool.
good.
Yeah.
So,
You're just gonna be sitting here in silence for the entire beginning.
well, I'll see
Caption
what
it
I
or
can do with
something.
it. It was there for a while.
Voice over it, you know.
Um, but yeah. So I ordered the screws from Fastenal for the Stealth Burner. I think I'm ordering 100 of every size. $29, not bad. Going to pick them up the next day, and it's like exactly the number of screws that I needed. And I'm like, what is going on here? But no, screw prices have been astronomical. And this Fastenal here doesn't even stock anything smaller than M5s. So everything, I've got a special order, and then they want $15 in shipping. I'm like, you know what? I'll just order them from AliExpress.
Or Amazon. It's so much cheaper.
Yeah. Well, if I need them quick, I order them from Amazon. But
Yeah.
if not, because
Actually, a pretty good pricing wise is Bolt Depot. Is actually I found very good pricing wise. Sometimes McMaster has better prices, but weird. It's so weird. Like most of the time, I expect McMaster to be more expensive, but like some random bolts are just cheaper on. I don't understand why.
yeah,
But Bolt Depot has been my thing. I had
yeah,
we ordered a bunch of bolts from the machine, and it was like massive boxes of bolts. We're talking like hundreds of pounds of bolts, and we're just like, wow. And
yeah,
that was only $30 to ship. That poor fucker had to carry those things in.
yeah.
Ugh.
Turn on light.
So we'll move on to Caden. What have you been doing?
I've been doing? Well, for the past week, I've been trying to maybe upgrade my airsoft a little bit.
What
Been
gun?
very. It is a Action Army AAP-01, and so I've been upgrading that, and we printed out an upper for it, and that was very frustrating. We ended up printing 3 different uppers, and none of them worked. They just all would not stay on, and we have no clue why. It's not sticking. It's not, whenever we shoot it, it just pops off and flies.
Yeah, so it's got some
The Fitment. Yeah.
yeah, it's got some fitment issues. I've printed it in every direction, orientation. It's definitely a design issue.
What
Um,
filament were you printing it out of?
uh, Lime green from Polymaker ABS.
Did you account for the shrinkage ratio?
A little bit. So the CAD files, the STLs or 3MFs that they are, is actually designed for ABS. That's what it was designed for. So, um,
I know Polymaker shrinks a little less than
yeah.
normal.
So here's the problem, right? You would think like there's some spots that are too tight,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it shrank too much.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the
Other
case,
parts
I
that are
could
half a
just,
millimeter too big.
I could adjust for that. But at the same time, there's other areas that are too big, like they didn't shrink enough. So, uh,
Might be a slicing tolerance thing too. So
yeah, I don't know. I tried it on the 2.4 and I tried it on the switch wire, both of them.
Well, the 2.4 actually.
Oh yeah, we never got
Yeah,
one off of that.
we never
before it
got one
broke.
off of there, so we don't even know how it would behave with better settings and a better tuned printer. So
So
we're hoping once that gets fixed, it'll work
I
on
mean,
that one a little bit better.
I don't know. Do you have any PETG?
I've got the only PETG I've got is clear.
Could try it.
Yeah,
Just
I could.
I mean,
Uh,
you're already down the drain of 3. What's one more, right?
yeah. So, I'm through almost half a roll. Nicholas, if you're watching, I could use another roll. I've done burned through half of this one. No, but yeah, I can try. I got some Polymaker Clear PETG. I can try running through that. I might also run another kind of ABS and see. But the only problem is he's going back home, so um,
Mm.
the ability to print test is going away. But
Mhm.
maybe I'll pick up one of these airsoft guns and then I can.
Yeah, I think the first airsoft gun I had was this like really cheap bolt action sniper. It was like $100 or something
Yeah, me
back in the
too.
days.
About how old are you? 15. About 16 years ago, and spring action, everything. But it costs as much as this thing that he's got, and his runs off of propane that you. So
Well, propane. Here's the thing. So
It's
with
fun gas.
yeah. So here's the problem. Uh, the airsoft guns, they always say green gas, red gas, all of this different, really expensive $20 for a 16-ounce bottle, different gases. And I was like, what is green gas even made out of? Like, what type of gas is it? It's just propane with some silicone oil added. And they sell adapters that you just screw on top and put some silicone oil and shoots exactly like green gas. And it's just like $10 cheaper.
Oh
So,
yeah. I mean, it's like printer ink, man. Come on.
yep.
Printer ink is worth more per milliliter weight ratio wise than human blood,
yeah.
Well,
and like it's per weight ratio wise, it's worth more than gold. Let's just put that in that perspective. Printer ink is. Had to get
Uh,
you somewhere. So
yeah.
yeah.
So move into news here. So anybody who hasn't been living under a rock has seen that Prusa started shipping the XLs. Um,
Yeah.
Congratulations to anybody that can shell out that $2,500 because I don't think buying an XL with one tool head would be anywhere near
Yeah.
usable. um, at that point, why? But so you're at least into it for $2,500. Um,
Mm.
but then immediately come out with the Mark IV, which I mean it's cool. I still don't know that it's worth the ask, but it's definitely better than Mark III. Um, it's got some of the new gizmos and gadgets from the last 5 years, so that's nice. Um,
Yeah. The Mark III was honestly like it, if it was cheaper, like the kit would have made a lot of sense. Because at one point I got a Mark III S and I really liked it. It was my favorite printer until it got the MMU, and then it became my most hated thing I ever had in my entire life. Because the
so
MMU was the thing that broke my Prusa experience per se.
yeah, so the Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder's based on that MMU, and I keep looking at it,
me
but
neither.
then I'm like, man, there's over engineered, and then there's trying to accomplish something that should not be done that way, and I feel like the
The AMS just
MMU,
does it so much better.
yeah, you
Yeah,
know, you've got to kind of have an all in one kind of system for that. Um,
yeah, 100%. The MMU is became like, ooh, I can make multicolored prints with support material to a glorified like just filament holder.
yeah.
And I'm like, at that point, it's like it's not worth $300 for me. It's just really not. So
Think
that's
about the water soluble supports.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't. You can't. if you're running
Damn.
different materials through the same hot end, you're gonna
Oh,
have cross
and
contamination.
and if you run PVA, which is dissolvable subformant for PLA, and your printer jams when it just finished printing PVA, PVA carbonizes in the nozzle. So you have to take the entire thing apart to decarbonize it effectively. So it's like at that point, it's like, what the fuck? It's like,
Hope and pray, I guess.
no. I mean, I tried to build. I wanted to build. I had an I. So I started off 3D printing, but the first printer I ever had was something I designed, which is not a great way to start anything because you don't have a baseline. So I was like sophomore year of college engineering. I designed and built my first 3D printer. It worked okay. It just really didn't have the movement that I wanted. It was supposed to be 500 by 500 by 500 millimeters, but it ended up being like 120 by 220 by like 500. I
That's a lot
really
of
screwed up.
millimeters lost.
Yeah, so pretty much I completely forgot that stuck the Y-axis motor like this and the two lead screws for the gantry because it's a flying gantry
Yeah.
like this. And I put the lead screws really close to the middle. So you see the problem? See
Yeah.
the problem
Yeah.
there? Yeah, so that didn't work. And then this next one I built was a 2 meter by 2 meter by 1.5 meter one. That one it was built in an ice fashion, but let's just say it didn't work because the gantry literally would like when the y-axis will go be here, it would tilt the gantry because the weight was so heavy. I
Yeah.
fixed most of it by adding some supports and whatnot and like counterweights. Didn't really work out that great of a printer. And then I built the final form, the Generation 3, and that was the one that was amazing. That was, I had quad gantry leveling, I had four, and this was like all within 2 years of each other. So, I was going through that. I was also playing football at the same time in college, so there's not a lot of free time. Let's just say that. Um, and I built that thing, and that was like I had AC servo motors, heated enclosure. I like my heated bed was like 2200 watts of power alone.
Jesus.
Um, yeah, no, that thing was nice. And I used like automotive firewall insulation on the inside. And then I put like 18 gauge thick steel plates on the outside as my enclosure. And it had like a double insulated door, double insulated window glass.
Are you sure you don't
Jesus.
manufacture
What were you trying to
manufacture
print in
bank
that thing?
vaults?
Huh?
What were you trying to print in that thing?
I have, yeah, it was some stuff for a DoD company. They wanted some covers for an airplane or something, and they wanted it out of Ultim. The
Okay,
problem is,
okay.
here's the
It
problem that
starts
we ran
making more
into.
sense now.
I don't
So
know.
here's the thing we
I was
ran
just gonna
into.
print some
We
tiny
decide,
dragons off of
so we
Thingiverse.
have a giant printer, right? And we put a point 0.1 or point 0.2 millimeter nozzle. And we could have went bigger, but the whole point was we wanted a highly accurate large format printer. Well, when you have such a small nozzle and such a small layer height, your files get very big,
Yeah.
really big, to the point that we would crash every controller that was out there. Like the smoothie board, yeah, it didn't like us at all. And it turns out they had a flaw in which if your circles were too large or too many, it will just overwrite the RAM in the MCU and just error out.
Hmm.
SmoothieWare did not admit to this until it was just this whole debacle. Um, and then we switched over to Duet, which ran a lot better. We were actually able to finish Prince. Um, but it was just crash, man. It was just non-stop crashing because the was just not designed for that, and I was a more of a ME than anything else at that point in time, so I couldn't really figure out a way to fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, we had like 4 GB G code files, yeah, like gigabyte G code files. Like we
That
tried to, yeah, it was bad.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I regret it. I should have done like a 1.2 or 1.8 1. 2 millimeter nozzle and just went on the layer heights and call it a day because at least we'd be able to finish a print. But we would
Yeah.
crash out every single time, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a lot.
A lot of files. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
like the
no.
entire contents of Wikipedia is about that much.
Yeah, so think of it. That was back in 2017-ish. So yeah, the final version was made in 2017. So crazy, long time ago already. It was fun.
I was always so hesitant to get 3D printer. So at work they had some of the Dremel 3D printers,
Oh yeah,
and nobody was ever able to get those things to print anything. I don't know that they ever successfully printed anything off of them. And then he had one about 3 years ago or something. It was a knockoff version of the Mono Price Select Mini, like that cantilever thing. And I was just like, you know, trinkets, whatever. Uh,
yeah.
and he had problems with it, and it didn't last long. So when he's trying to talk me into buying this $99 Ender 3 from Micro Center,
Well,
I was a
here's the
little
thing. So we
hesitant.
were talking about printers, just like, oh yeah, remember that
Oh
printer I
yeah,
had?
because work wanted to give me the Dremel printer for a
Yeah,
minute.
we were just talking, and I was like, huh, we should really get an Ender because that's the one I always wanted. That's the one I really wanted, but mommy wouldn't let me get it because I had to build it myself, and she didn't believe in me. And so he was
Don't
like,
worry, parents always like that.
and so we were talking, and he was like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool if only they weren't like $120 or $200, right? And I was like, the next day, I was just scrolling on TikTok and I came across a discount code for $100 for first time customers at Micro Center. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, well, we were just talking about this yesterday, but is it too soon to go run and pick up this printer?
So I went from not wanting to get one to 3 weeks later, after having got the Ender 3, to 3 weeks later, I was building the Voron 2.4. So
yeah. Bugs hit you, I think. And then after I was done with college, I left my large format printers at school. Well, skeletons of it. Because that was my first company. It was Hydro Systems. We wanted to make a all-in-one 3D printer, CNC mill, laser cutter, like a 3D printer. That didn't work out. I was beyond my engineering. I was like the only engineer on the three-man team, and it was like we could have made it happen. Like if I wanted to do it now, I could, but it was just been a lot of work, and I don't really think the market really needs it.
yeah,
And then I got a Tronzy XY X5SA-400 or something. That was my first commercial 3D printer that I bought. 4 years after building my first. So I went the inverse route. I went design my own and buying
yeah,
one, and then after that
yeah. I'd
one,
say going
yeah.
from that, that must have seemed like a bit of a downgrade in capabilities.
Oh yeah, dude, I was so mad at that thing. It was warped like hell. I got AliExpress to get my money back, and they let me keep the printer, so that was pretty dope.
Yeah,
So I ended up selling that one, and I got a Climber 7, which is this really small IDEX. And that's what I wanted. I wanted soluble printing supports. And then I figured out that because I was lazy and I didn't want to wait for the nozzle to reheat up again. So, for PVA. So, turns out I found out the hard way of why PVA carbonizes really quickly in nozzles. So, yay. And then, so I got tired of that one, sold that one. And then that's when I got my Prusa. And then I got sorry, no, after the Climber, I bought a Sobel, which is by far, hands down, the best printer I've ever bought. I got it up from the Amazon thing. I zapped 4 bolts underneath into it, put it on my table, leveled it, and pressed print. I was printing in less than 10 minutes. From getting it from the delivery driver to printing my first part, and that was my favorite printer for a while because it's practically, it's a bed slinger, but it's very reliable. It was like $300. And then that's over at my buddy's house right now because his Ender 3 broke. And then I also have a Prusa. I had a Prusa. I bought the MAU. Hated the MAU so much that I sold the Prusa. And then the MAU at the same time. And then I went and built my 2.4 back there. And I bought a V0 kit. Hated the V0 because of the whole drop it nuts thing. Sold that. So next, I'm like, well, if I'm moving to Denmark in a couple of months, I'm going to sell my 2.4 because I'm not going to move that to Denmark. So I'm planning to at least. Um, so I'm just like, well, do I get a VZ-Bot or a K3 or do I just build another 2.4 or to get Bamboo Labs? It's like so many options now, It's like,
Denmark. Why Denmark?
oh, I got into a master's program over there for electrical engineering. So
Oh,
I was
congratulations.
Thank you. I made it really hard because in school I played Division 1 football and it was engineer, so my GPA was very low. Let's just say that. Um, and I was like getting rejected left and right. But I was because last year I kind of woke up, had a quarter life crisis, and I was like, I'm not sure if I can what I'm gonna do with my machine tool company. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with my consulting thing. So I'm just gonna go. I'm not sure if I want to go back to school yet. So I'm gonna make it hard. So I was like top 100 schools in the world, which I found out that the top 100 schools in the world, only like 10 of the schools are in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I thought the U.S. Educational system was a little better ranked, but it apparently wasn't. So that was a shocker. Um, because it's pretty much just like you have Caltech and MIT and uh, Carnegie Mellon and like all the really good schools that like we all know, right? Like the
Yeah.
Ivy Leagues, and then everyone else is like past 250, 500 plus thousands unranked. Most of them are unranked. And I'm just like, wow, I did not know how bad that was ranking wise because I thought like U.S. schools would be relatively decently ranked. No, it was not. It was an eye opener. So I got to the top 100 program uh, overall, and then it's like 63 ranked for engineering worldwide. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to grad school because there was no way I thought I would actually get in because I had like a 2.39 GPA, and every single school is like, if you don't have a 3.0, you're not coming in here.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, you get to see the world a little bit too. So.
yeah, it's like a nice breather from the machine tool company because it was a grind. Uh, for the past 3, 4 years, 4 years. So uh, it's nice to get a change scenery. We're putting it on pause. We're not stopping it per se. We're just kind of pausing it, because we got a couple machines out there. We just want to see how they run. We want to add some new features, finish up the next generation design as well, and then before we can go back and sell. So that was a fun time.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, fun time,
Yeah.
fun time. So how many more years of school do you got left, my man?
Um, 2, and I'm hoping to go to trade school. So,
Wait, you're in high school?
uh-huh.
Nice. Trade school is definitely the best way to go in terms of not getting crushed by student debt and actually making real money. That's the
Yep.
realization. I feel like a lot of the public agenda pushes everybody towards colleges, and kids don't all have to go to college. Like, yes, college is needed, but like, dude, just go be a welder if you want to go be a welder, bro. That's nice. They make good money. Like
Yeah.
gaslight welders, dude, they are rolling in the money, dude. I didn't really realize how much that made, and then they were like, wow. I was like, I should have just been a welder. I like messing around with my hands and stuff like that. And machinists, like if you can become a 5 axis programmer, dude, just name your salary. Like it's crazy how many high paying jobs are out there without a college degree. But all you have to do is go to trade school, get some experience, and done.
Yep.
That's the
Yeah.
smartest way to approach it. My buddy, one of my teammates at school, he was a walk on, and after our first year, he was like, this is bullshit. I paid, $20,000 a year tuition. I still haven't even learned any engineering yet. I'm still doing these dumb gen eds about like, English, history, and writing, and it's like, screw this. I'm dropping out. I'm gonna go become an electrician. That man was probably the smartest. He probably like if you do the math of like monetary gains versus like, whatever you're at, right? Like he definitely beat us because by the time he graduated trade school and he became apprentice, I think he was like a journeyman by the time we graduated or something
Well,
like that. Like there's no way because especially if you invest your money early, correctly and wisely, it just compounds to the point that it's like, yeah, we come out like maybe making like $10,000 less than you or something like that for the first couple of years. It's it's just a moot at that point. So just be smart for money when you get into the trades, and you should be fine. Because just remember out there's a bunch of kids that think a random 4-year degree is going to make them rich, but apparently that's not the case.
nope.
So especially going to a recession like this. So thanks
Best
for
job you
listening.
can have is one that you enjoy.
Oh yeah, I mean like everyone's gonna break a car. Everyone needs a plumber. Everyone needs an electrician. It's still gonna be it's a demand for that because you need society to continue. So
Yep.
props to being smart. So don't believe in just going to college will get you a good job. You have to be like uh
You have to be willing to do and make yourself better in order to
no,
make a
you
high
just
paying job.
you to get money from a college degree. It's you really have to be in STEM, unfortunately. Unless you're going to be like lawyer and you do history and you go like the whole law school ordeal, right? But that's a lot of debt, and
Yeah.
I don't think the debt can I don't think the debt I don't think it like it evens out if you look at a long term plan. If
Yeah, I
you
don't need to make $100,000 a year. I just have to be able to live comfortably. I just
oh
not looking for
do
anything
you know
crazy.
how
I
much
just want to
do you know
own a
how much
house.
Mercedes Benz charges for their technicians?
How much?
$295 an hour for mechanical work.
No way. I might just
No,
need to
I'm
do
not
that.
kidding you. It's 195 for body work at the local Mercedes-Benz Collision Center, and it's 295 for uh, automotive work. And if you do anything on like a Sprinter chassis, which is like diesel mechanics or Maybach or like the more bougier brand
Yeah,
names, which is
yeah.
really weird how they lump in diesel and like bougie brand names, right? It's like you wouldn't expect that. Your rate goes up to like 295 an hour, and it's like it's insane. And general mechanic hours there is like 200 plus, like easily. I think they're like 265 right now at the local dealership. I mean,
Wow.
granted, the mechanics are probably not seeing that, but just knowing the fact that like they're charging that, that means the mechanics are getting paid some of it, not 50% of it, but like, you're getting paid, dude. It really depends on what you work on, and it really depends on a lot of things. But mechanics get paid, dude. Like you can make really good money service if you're living in like a metropolitan area and you're like a fancy car mechanic, dude. You make so much money.
Yeah, I was thinking about becoming specialized, but there's just so many steps and requirements to be able to become a specialized mechanic in a certain car brand like Porsche or Mercedes Benz or anything like that. It's just at that point I make more money if I just start 2 years early and
Well,
get the
you can
experience
always
in.
specialize later. You're not
Yeah,
stuck there, right?
yeah. I could always
And
choose to do what I want. I mean, but
and the newer
I'd
Benz
rather.
cars are like impossible to work on. I can tell you that because so my father has a 2008 S550, um, which is the easiest car to work on. Oh my God, like it is a pleasure to work on that car on the engine bay. Everything else
Please
is
break down.
miserable.
Please break.
Well, so the engine bay of the 2008 S550 is a V8, right?
Yeah.
So naturally aspirated V8. You don't have intercoolers, you don't have turbochargers. It's literally as simple as you can get, right? You pop off the filter housing with a clip at one end, and the entire engine filter harness pops off. All your intake manifold bolts are in front of you. All your spark plugs are right there.
It's like it
So
was
you
engineered by somebody that knew how to work on a car.
yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
know,
the
right?
windshield wipers are the best. Why? Because I literally you lift them up, you flip them like 180 degrees, they slide out. You put the new ones in, you flip them back, and done. There's no clicking or anything. It's literally dumb simple. It's like I can swap out my windshield wipers in less than 30 seconds. I shit you not.
Nice.
The most
I can do it
annoying
blindfolded
car
too.
that I ever
In the
worked
dark,
on.
pouring rain, I can do that because all you have to do is just find a little reference point and then you're done.
Yep, right there.
Yeah.
Take out the
Yeah,
spark
no, it's
plug.
it's
Yeah.
so painless. And then the intake manifold's right there. The only thing that's pain in the ass on that car is the front differential. If you want to drain the fluid, you have to you can technically go from the top, but there's not enough space to put ventilation. So when you put fluid in, it just pumps that out because it's like a thick European differential fluid, which is like sticky honey, effectively, right?
Yeah.
So I found out the easiest way was to literally just stick it through the drain tube, put your thumb in there, refill the plunger, put it back into 200 cc's, refill the plunger, put it back in there, and like it's like you drip a little, you put it, you drip a little, put it low. It's like I'm just gonna put extra 50 cc's in there, and then I have my impact ready with the thing, and just go like. I started like I with the bit, and so I start the thing, and I just zap it in real quick, and it's like done. I was like, yep, I probably lost like maybe like a couple of milliliters. Um, the rear diff was easy, and then your suspension. I rebuilt my dad's suspension on that thing. The air suspension was miserable. To get
Oh
the
yeah.
back, the front is easy. The front's easy. You zap out 3 bolts, entire thing just drops. Like it's a absolute amazingness to work on that car. Unless your rear right head sensors bracket disintegrates, that is misery to get to. But it's doable. You just have to you just don't use the OEM bracket and you just use a pipe clamp and call it a day.
I
Um,
think
I
the
tell
worst.
for filling up your front trans diff, if you're trying to fill it from the top and you're having
yeah,
issues with that, I
yeah.
took a piece of half-inch CPVC,
Hmm.
drilled a little hole inside, ran a
Uh-huh.
piece of 6 millimeter flexible
Tubing.
tubing down, poked it out the side, put it in, funnel into the half inch
Yeah.
CPVC, and you got a built-in vent right inside of it.
That's pretty smart.
That would have worked, but there's not a lot of room. Like I had to snake it under the front axis to get over there. Like it's like
Okay, yeah. If you don't
there's a
have
full
direct
engine there.
access to it, then forget it.
No,
But
there's no direct access to that thing, which sucks. But it's not that terrible. And then I've worked on my mom's car, and that's a 2014 V6 naturally aspirated. So it's like the engine room does a lot of room. Like I can take out the serpentine belt easy. I can replace everything without taking out, other than the air filter. That's all I have to take out. Um,
It's like that on most cars. You just take out the air filter, and most stuff that you need is within arm's reach.
yes, and then I had to change out the timing belt to reseal the timing belt things covers, which is actually really nice. You can get full access to your dual cams and your timing belt tensioner without taking apart the whole engine, which is really nice. But the Mercedes video says you have to take off the intake manifold. So we're taking out the intake manifold, we're like zapping the bolts out, and then I'm like, hey, there's 2 bolts in the back of this thing, right? They're like, yes. It's like, how the fuck are we gonna reach this thing? It's because on my mom's version, they put the firewall over the back of the engine, so like the bolts are right here, and then the firewall goes like it's like a 6 inches overlap, and I'm just like, I can't get to that without taking out the entire firewall. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll just like pry it up like 2 inches so I can get clearance for that first bolt out, and then like that's the only thing I need to do. That was great. I got those clearance there from forcing it. Hopefully, I didn't break anything. But yeah, that was fun. And then they use aluminum bolts.
That's oh my god. I got so upset once.
is that just because of the similar metals, or why?
There's aluminum bolts.
There's just aluminum just for no reason.
To do that kit, right? To redo both timing belt covers on, I think the M275 V6 engine on the Mercedes Benz. You spend $20 in the RTV silicone, which is Loctite 7005 or something like that, and which you can buy the Mercedes version or the Loctite version. Doesn't right? They're the same thing. Um, and then you spend $60 on aluminum bolts because they're one-time use only.
Yeah, it's like head studs.
So a $10 job goes to like $100 just because of that. And then at the same time, depending on what time your engine was made, you have to replace the timing chain tensioners because there's a manufacturing issue. Well, not manufacturing, but it's known for these engines that. Depending what type of check valve they have installed, they fixed it, by the way. But like depending on what check valve they will have the rattle, so the check valve will allow fluid into the timing chain tensioner, so it lets it loose, and then so you hear a lot of rattling at initial startup. But once the engine gets to temperature, it stops. Well, it's a common problem. My mom's car had that, so those were $120 a pop. They replaced both of them, and then the check valve was like $10. But like, it's like I was like, oh, this ain't that bad.
I grew up working on American muscle cars, so
Yeah, you have literally room to sit in there. My buddy has like a '64 Chevy, all right, and it had an LS crate engine drop, and he was literally sitting inside the engine bay with the engine in it, and I'm just like, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. Like that is so much room. And then he blew up the crate engine like a week later. It's stupid. But at least they can drop that out easily.
One of the things that I hate about Audi engines is there are no belts. It is all chains, and it is a pain to get all of those back on. I despise it so much. It's just it's so pointless. Just put a belt on it. There's no need for all of these chains.
The one nice thing about Mercedes-Benz engines up to like I think 2017 or 2016, you can extract the oil. They're designed to have the oil extracted from the oil dipstick tube. And it's like easiest oil changes I've ever done in my entire life. I don't get dirty. I just literally stick a tube in there, turn on the air compressor, and like literally go play Call of Duty do one have a run for an hour to make sure you get all the oil out, come back, pull it out, put the dipstick there, swap the filter out, put a new oil in, done.
That's one thing I do like about them, but the timing chains.
And the oil filter's right in front of you. Like, I don't understand about American cars. Why in the hell did they put the oil filter in such an odd place? Like, my F-150 had it like you had to contort your hand in a weird way, and there's no way you could pull the oil filter out without it dripping everywhere. Like, it was the most tilting thing I've ever done. Is because it's like you have your hand, you're just like this. It's like, yeah, I know it's somewhere over there. And it's like,
yeah, I know. I always try to like when I'm like trying to reach up, I always try to like put my wrist like this and then turn it like this so that it doesn't drip down my arm and it just drips down my hand instead.
Yeah, you're just going to be drenched in oil. Like that's how it is. You're just going to accept the fact you're going to be drenched in oil. While Mercedes, you can literally just boop, 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 done. Like no oil on your hands whatsoever.
I like the plastic oil filters where you just take off the plastic cover, snap out the old filter, and put a new filter in. Just screw it on, boom, you're done.
And another thing that allows you to do, it allows you to inspect your oil filter.
Yep.
Like, that's the great part about it is that you can literally look into pleats and see if there's any like shavings and shit.
And it's also way cheaper to replace.
Oh, way cheaper. So much more economical and environmentally friendly, which is ironic to say. But like, yes, it's actually more environmentally friendly to have that because you're replacing just the filter medium versus the entire thing. And then another thing that absolutely like if we could have like American replacement car prices, right? Like on the engine with like the Mercedes oil change method, I would be so happy. That'd be like the perfect engine, right? Like everything is stupid cheap, right? Like give me the LS engine, but with the Mercedes oil change. That's all I want. That's all I want in the world.
It's just so easy.
That would make my life so much simpler. Because you don't have to do jack shit about changing oil. Yeah, sure, you need $100 oil extractor, but but whatever. At that point, like, think about it this way: is like, I mean, you just don't go to Jiffy. Like, if you do like in terms of Jiffy Lube oil changes, that's like just 3 oil changes, man. And I'm pretty sure if you work on your car, you have an air compressor somewhere.
Yep.
So like, I love that thing. My oil extractor is the easiest thing ever.
That's where I went. I need this screw for something.
Love oil extractors, man.
They're so easy. One of the most
So
annoying
nice.
jobs that I've ever done was trying to change a spark plug on a horizontal engine. It was
A
some
Subaru?
no. I meant like
Porsche? Oh,
parallel.
oh, oh, okay.
It
Yeah,
was
Subarus, you literally have to pull
Subarus
the
are
fucking engine out, and it, it's
might
you
as
don't
well
buy a Subaru.
replace the head gaskets while I'm at it.
You might as well just trash the car, honestly. At that point, it's like there's so much labor hours just to pull the damn thing out. It's not even worth it. I mean, like if you think about like my dad's Mercedes V8 spark plug change, 5 minutes tops,
No, but
done,
it
done.
was
It was just like pop, boop, zap, 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 boop, pull out, pull out, pull out, done. I use a power ratchet and call it a day. It's like, oh, amazing.
yeah, it was a
That is true German
V6
engine.
parallel engine, so it was
Ooh,
tilting
the back
t-
blocks.
towards the firewall, and I had to wrap around, get the smallest socket wrench because all of the piping around it was just all thick piping, and I couldn't get a big
That's
wrench in there, and I had to hit it with a hammer because I couldn't get a longer one in there to get more leverage, and I was
I think
just
if you were went to all parts data, they probably would have told you to drop the engine. Because that's what it probably would have told you. Because it's like it's so frustrating. That's almost as bad as the V8 Trident engines from the 2000s and the Ford F-150s. If anybody remember how to replace those.
I had to remove a fuel tank from, I think it was an F-150, and there was so much leaves and debris all above it. Like I, even with my goggles that surround my eyes, I was holding them onto my head trying to see, and I had to wipe wipe it off. Like it was so terrible. I was like, how many leaves has this guy raked with his truck?
Too many, but like so the Trident one, I think the eight four three plugs all that are all the way in the back. The only way to get those changed is to drop the engine out.
Yeah,
On a Ford
there's
F-150, which you would think that car was designed to be serviced because it's a Ford
yeah.
F-150. Nope. Or just the engineer who designed that just went like,
Well, that's the problem. That most of the time, the people that design cars or anything
Are not mechanics.
are not. They don't have to service the things. They and it's not entirely their fault either. So they've been given something by a designer that just drew a picture, and their job is to fit everything that needs to go into there into the given space that they're given.
I don't
And
blame them. No.
but sometimes you want to hug them real tight around the neck.
Just
Yeah, Fisker Karma, the original Fisker Karma. So the guy who designed the Fisker Karma, who was the head of the company, he designed a bunch of like really nice, like classical, like I think he had like the original M3 BMW design and a couple other cars. Um, this man was like, I want a front exhaust. And then the engineers were like, if we do the rear exhaust, it makes everything cheaper and stuff like that. But it's like, I want a front exhaust, and that's gonna happen. And they're
I
just like,
want my
well, we have to
exhaust
figure
to
out how to get
go into
50
my
more
intercooler.
horsepower out of this engine somehow because it's like they're already turbocharged it, I think. They already had everything. And it's just like we just can't seem to get 50 more horsepower because there's literally 50 miles of winds buffeting into the exhaust, literally the exhaust. So they're just like, well, they made a pizza box or something like that to solve it. But it's like this guy would make one design change, he'll scrap a whole run of parts, like millions of dollars of parts, just scrapped. They can't even use because it's like the guy made one change or something. And it's like it was just like what happens when a car designer runs a car company. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Almost actually just as bad when business people run an aviation company. It's like, yeah, you don't work. Um, so yeah. There's two things. Yeah, engineers should always run an aviation company. Engineers should always run an automotive company. Because even the Toyotas are getting really bad now.
Yeah.
Like they were good at the get go, but like the new trucks they're coming out have so many issues. Like I don't like they're so bad. Like like people joke about Fords about like fix or repair daily, but if you just look at the sheer size of Ford compared to the other automotive car giants in the US, you can see why. I mean, it has multiple, many more times vehicles. So like even if you have like a 0.1%, defect rate, right? That shows up to thousands of cars at what Ford is. But if you're like, at Chevy or whatever other car company, and you're at like you know, a 10% rejection rate or like fixed rate, that's only like, a couple thousand cars at best, right? So if you look at the sheer scale of that, it's like it's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, so I worked at Honda for a while,
You have to put all the ratios
and
together.
while I
Until
was working
the
there
Civics,
in
new Civics are
2017, and Ford was, I think, number 4 for
yeah.
best as far as like initial quality.
Hmm.
So how many cars have to come back for an issue once they leave the production line? And Ford was number 4 at the time. Toyota was number 1. Um,
Hmm.
but like that's a huge thing in the automotive industry.
I feel
And
like Fords would be higher on the list if they didn't rust away into dust.
well,
Well, they fixed it on the new F-150s a little bit.
yeah, by
But you
making
also
it
have to
all
think
aluminum,
like,
but
Yeah.
yeah, but you also have to think it's like, yeah, Ford, like, Ford is a interesting thing for me. So my first F-150 was a 2015 F-150, brand new. My dad, uh, the dad was said this, he will never buy a used car because number one, he doesn't know who bought it before him. He doesn't know how bad they took care of it. I didn't really understand that rule until I tried to take care of his Mercedes, and then I'm just gonna call it the chop shop that he took it to get stuff fixed was so bad I was appalled. Like they just RTV'd everything on the coolant line. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like, Dad, never take this car back in there. They stripped like a bunch of screws out too, and I was sitting there. And I'm just like, no wonder why this is leaking coolant, Dad. Like they
be
fucked up. They don't
surprised
want
how many bolts come off the line on a given car that have been cross-threaded and
to.
retapped.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. At this point, it's like I don't trust anybody at this point, especially with those European cars, because it's so bad. Like those, because like I'm no offense, but like is random chop shop number one gonna actually put the time and care that it is to fully take apart what they need, or they're gonna try to figure out how to get it out within, I could like just force a part open a little bit, get the thing
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I mean they got to turn over vehicles in
Yeah,
order to
of course, and like I
keep
wouldn't
the
like
lights on.
it's like I can do 90% of the work. It's just the only things I don't touch are brake lines, because I don't have the brake bending. I don't know when to deal with that.
Oh yeah.
And on
That those
and
are a
us,
pain, but I know how to.
yeah.
They're
But if you're a
they're
brake
pretty
shop,
easy.
you can do it. It's really easy. It's something I can trust with.
Yeah.
But like that I don't trust it. I don't trust anybody touching the engine other than me at this point because it's like what happened after my dad's car was like horrible.
The weirdest. I had to rebuild a whole engine and put it back in, and I obviously had help, but I put together, I'd say, a decent part of that
Oh yeah,
engine and put it in a decent amount. I was the one that
yeah,
like lined it up and pushed it all in there. It was so annoying, but
yeah.
it was. I was really questioning why am I building a whole new engine when this engine is going to break apart in 5,000 miles because this car is going to drop it on the floor. It's just
Because it's so
going to,
rusted out.
yes, it was just so destroyed. It was a Ford. I
Yeah,
think
but
it
Yeah.
was like a Ford Taurus or something like that. It was just, I was like
so
appalled. I was like, why are they spending this much money trying to swap in a new engine? Just buy a new car at this point.
so a lot of that is, yeah, you get some bad reputation for some of these manufacturers for F-150s that rust like, but what are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to the Dodge or Chevy that's used the same way? The thing's never parked in a garage. It sits outside year round.
Mhm.
You know, it might get washed, maybe. And if it does, it's definitely not an undercarriage wash. They're not washing the salt off of the undercarriage of that thing. You know, it's not it's
It's
not your $500,000 Rolls Royce that stays parked in the garage and only comes out
Oh
on
yeah,
sunny days.
a
Yeah,
Ford F-150. You literally don't touch that thing. Like, it's the only thing you do is change the oil, rotate the tires, and change the brake pads out, and that's it.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
I
god.
mean,
I feel like it's the
you're comparing
reputation
apples
that the
and
brand
oranges. Like,
Yeah.
makes of itself, and the more people feel secure with it, the less they want to take care of it.
Yeah.
Like Ford's
I
always like,
mean,
"Oh, this is so reliable," and then people just stop caring about it, and the brakes become so warped that I can tell that it's worked by moving it a centimeter.
I love when people comment. You see those non-existent brake discs, those
Oh
phantom
yeah,
discs. Those are
yeah.
great. But yeah, no, I mean, like, I don't know. The F-150, the first one I had, I shot a rod through the roof at 7,000 miles. Not sure what happened there, but I'm pretty sure it might have been user error because I think I drove it a little too hard in the snow and I might have cracked the oil thing. Might have. I'm not sure. Ford warranted it. I got a 2016, so but they just called it a lemon. But I know the 2.7 was too small to be in it. It's just too small of an engine to be an F-150. The 2.7 was.
oh Lord,
So
my first car was a S10 Blazer with that 2.8 liter Iron Duke engine. Oh my
that
God.
thing was a that was a ticking time bomb. And then
Oh, it
I got
was.
a
I drove it to help a buddy of mine. Lived in Jersey at the time, and I drove it down to South Charleston, West Virginia, through the mountains. And it's got one of those radiators where your transmission cooler and your radiator are an all-in-one unit, and it popped. So my transmission fluid was getting pumped into my coolant.
That's a
Uh,
pretty fun way to
that
go.
was, it overheat and it puke orange all over the ground.
uh, that's yeah, that 2.7 EcoBoost was not a good thing on Ford's departments, but the 3.5 is a little more reliable. The earlier ones were bad. I think you had to do a new head gasket at 100,000 miles for those things if you're post 2015. The newer ones, I think they made it a little better, but still, though, it's really not terrible of a car. I mean, the V8's obviously the longevity king because it's no boost, pretty
Yeah.
simple. Um, but yeah, no, it's pretty good luck with Ford on other than the 2015 that
Yeah.
detonated.
I had a Ford Taurus that I drove to 300,000 miles. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the engine was still fine. So was the transmission. Um, but all the suspension stuff was gone, had been replaced, and gone again. And then the uh, the fans went out, and it had more issues than it was worth fixing at that point.
but
So,
man, at that point, that car is already
oh yeah, it
gone.
paid for itself. I paid $900 for the thing. So
Oh yeah, you got your thing.
yeah,
You got your worth out of
drove
it.
it to 300,000 miles and still sold it for like $350. So
Not bad. I think I sold my 2016 F-150 like last year I bought it for like $30,000 or something, $31,000, something about that, brand new. I sold it for 31,000. That's up with 70,000 miles on it. So
yeah,
I
car
was like,
market's a little insane now.
yeah, I thought the car market would reset. It did not reset. I don't think it is going to reset because now the manufacturers have complete control over everything now. So, and they prefer this way too. So,
Yeah, it's working in the auto industry. It's pretty crazy.
Painful.
Pretty crazy.
yeah, it's pretty fun. But
I have to learn
yeah,
how to
man,
live with it too.
This push to electric is going to be interesting.
Yes, I actually
I hate it.
that push to electric. I think that it might change some stuff, but I don't think it's going to change a whole lot.
You
I
know,
don't.
it's a net negative, right?
Yeah.
Regardless how you put it. It's like you have to think in a global scale, right? So that lithium
The lithium
uses
mines
the
just
lithium need to build one Tesla battery pack uses that like I think you're already at like a ton of diesel burnt just to extract the lithium out of the ground, not to do to purify it, right? And then you ship it to get purified, and then you ship it to China or wherever to get it put into a cell, right? And then that gets plastic wrapped. Think about it, every single time there's a step, there's a plastic wrap. You unplast it, you plastic wrap it, and then that goes from a factory in China, right, or Korea, to a battery assembly plant somewhere else in the world. They put it in a battery, they plastic wrap that, and then they ship it across another world, and then they open that plastic up and they put it into your car, and then they plastic wrap your car, right? So it's like, how much oil have we already used just to get the goddamn battery into your car, right? And then
Yeah.
it's like, if you look at the CO2 consumption, um,
Not to
yeah,
mention the power grid is still
our
completely
power grid is
mostly.
screwed.
Yeah.
My buddy works at Dominion Electric in VA, and he said, we're screwed. We're 1000% screwed. We do not have the capacity. Like, it's like that meme. It's like, we don't have the capacity, right? That
Mhm.
that meme. It was like in Africa or something. Yeah, we don't have the capacity. There's no way. Like, the only things that make sense electrically is to electrify cargo ships, because that alone accounts for like 90%, or even, like, it's a really high. I don't know the exact metric. Maybe 70% of the global CO2 emissions. So if we literally just make that disappear,
I think I
Yeah,
seen
but
something
at
about
the
that.
at the end of
do
the
you know
day,
how
no
much our
matter
cars
what you
run?
do, you're just passing the buck. So if you electrify that electricity is generated somewhere, and you could go nuclear, but then you've got all the
Nuclear is the option.
fallout of
Actually,
that.
Nuclear is
Like,
actually.
nuclear is the solution to all of our problems, and the reason why people don't want it is because of a couple of accidents. Less
My
people have died in nuclear-related accidents than normal power plant-related accidents.
I know.
one of
It,
my
I'm just saying,
engineering
like,
teacher.
you've got, no matter what you do, you're taking this problem and you're passing it somewhere else. And uh, nobody out there that I know of that's worked a day in their life hasn't at some point been in some situation where they've gone, what in the heck is management thinking? Like, I get that it looks good on paper, but it doesn't actually work. And it's the
Yeah,
same way with this. Like, it looks good on paper. Let's go electric. Let's,
yeah,
now we're
and
not burning fuel,
congratulations.
but you're not thinking about all the fuel you're burning to get there, all the ecological disaster that it is to mine lithium and cobalt. You know,
Yeah, and
and
and then, like, the fact of, like, I think you're only gonna if everybody went electric for passenger vehicles, you're really only reducing like 1 or 2% of CO2. Like, what is that going to do to actually? It's you're at a net negative, and everybody is like, "Huh, no CO2." I'm just like, you have to drive your car for like 15 years or
yeah,
something just
you're
to
you're not
offset
putting
the
the
CO2 to
CO2.
make it.
You're not putting any greenhouse gases out of an exhaust pipe because they've already been put out to build your car.
Yeah,
They're
and you have
getting
to
put
drive
out
that
over
thing
at the
forever.
electric plant where you plug your car in every night. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, think about this: if a guy gets a new car every 5 years, electric car every 5 years, he is literally compounding his CO2 emissions to the point that, like, if he would have just got a normal gas car, he would be like a million times more, like hundreds of percentage points of CO2 would have been less CO2 would have been emitted. Because you think about it this way, like, the manufacturing of automobiles without lithium batteries is relatively a lot easier to do and
At this
a lot
point,
better.
and
we're
if you think
so
that
screwed.
we have a limited supply of oil, we definitely have a limited supply of the rare earth metals that it takes to make those batteries. There's a reason why it's called rare earth metals.
It's
They're
rare.
pretty fucking rare. Like, and you want to use you know
You should have put
thousand
you put
percent of our current capacity for mining those metals to make batteries to put electric
do you
vehicles
know
on the road.
how you recycle a Tesla battery pack?
Oh,
This is the only current method that actually somehow works. You freeze it in liquid nitrogen, and then you shred it in the liquid nitrogen. And as you're slowly bringing it up to temperature, you skim off the things that float to the top. Just keep on skimming. And that's the only way to recycle it. So it's like, so you're saying we have to first super chill a bunch of nitrogen down to get it to liquid metal, so more energy wasted, right? And then if we don't do that, the entire battery pack will catch on fire. Great. Now, like, I'm just like, with a normal car, you just take the engine block, throw it in the furnace, and then you're
Melt it
done.
down and build a new one.
Yep.
And then poops it out, and you machine it down, and then you get a new one, and then take the steel, throw it in the furnace with some coke, and done. And then with the plastic, well, that's a dead dinosaur, so I can't. Fortunately, we're not fully getting rid of that. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, no, normal cars are much more reliable and much less bad ecologically.
That
One of my
and if
teachers.
everybody goes to electric, I'm out of a job.
Yep. Me too.
No, you'll just be clamshell molding like windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah, the machinery I have is far
Very
too large for that.
specialized.
We're looking at making, the giant water tanks,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
the ones you see encased in metal for farm and agricultural use, or like you know
Mhm.
they use them for water storage for big RVs and like forest fire trucks and stuff. Like we can do that.
Yeah.
Like we're not blow molding Coke bottles out of the machines that we've got.
No, no. I mean, you could honestly, the Tesla injection molder is pretty cool, though. I will say that you can literally injection mold an entire car cock, which is pretty cool.
One of my teachers actually worked at a nuclear power plant, and he is really bright, but he was saying of how much more efficient it is, and he does not understand what we're still doing with normal crude oils and stuff like that, because it is honestly just way better.
What,
And
the Tesla injection molder?
no, nuclear.
No, he's talking about power plants.
Oh, yeah, no. Nuclear is the way to go.
Yeah.
Nuclear is the solution to all of our problems, and if we would have just adopted it and embraced it, we'd be a lot farther. But unfortunately, there's a
Chernobyl
lot of
ruined our chances.
it's the only
Well,
power
Chernobyl's
generation.
not even the problem for America. Like we never ran that style reactor.
Chernobyl was literally overclocking their nuclear reactor for shits and giggles. What do you think would have happened at that point? I'm just
I
saying.
know. We're just a lot of people
I
got
mean, we had
scared
Three
because of
Mile
that.
Island, but that's like not even that bad comparatively, right? And it's the only energy generation where you can consolidate all your emissions into a nice little ingot and store it
Yeah.
somewhere, preferably many miles below the ground. But hey,
We got spaceships. Launch that shit in space.
yeah, maybe send it to a meteor heading towards us or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll add an extra explosion to the nuclear warhead, extra juice.
The
But
children
it's.
yearn
I
for
mean,
the
it's also
lithium
like if you also think
mines.
about like ethanol was a giant, not a great idea. Corn is not the move. We should have wanted a different material. I think it was like peat
Right
grass or
across
something.
the street from me is an ethanol factory.
Yeah, and ethanol was not the solution. There would have been a much better solution to that, but whatever. It looks good once again. Looks good on paper.
Yeah.
Never works out. So that's kind of how it is. It is what it is. So sometimes you just gotta embrace it. I'm just happy that I can have opinions and not be, have a secret police knock on my door. So, well, we're all
Yeah.
about to get
The secret police.
there. Man, it's crazy now. The world's like massively changing since what it used to be back in like 2010.
It is, but I don't know. I feel like the world's always been massively changing.
I don't know. I feel like it's definitely accelerated, or maybe we're just more aware of it because we're more connected.
That and
Yeah,
as you get older, you pay attention to stuff.
Yeah, but I was paying attention to a lot of stuff as a kid too. But I guess I'm paying attention to more of it. So
Yeah.
it is what it is, man.
And having a frame of reference, like things
Back
can.
in my day,
Well,
I feel.
oh, exactly. Like if you don't have that back in my day frame of reference for where it was, you don't understand how far it's gone, right? So, like, I got 3 kids, and I've got all 3 of them. One's 15, one's 11, one's 3, and none of them will understand
That a
that
piece of
just a
candy was
few
50
years
cents.
before they were born and around, like, the internet, not a thing. Cell phone, unless you
You
were
can
a
play
doctor or a
Snake.
lawyer, you didn't have one. Like, you had,
Dude,
satellite phones in cars.
car phones. Bring back the real car phones.
Yeah.
My dad's first Benz had one, and I always wanted a car phone because I feel like that's like the most flex you can have on anybody right now. Because it's like, yeah, you got an iPhone, I got a car phone, man.
Like,
Or
growing
the
up,
times when radios didn't
you
exist and they
know,
had to put car-mounted cassette players and not cassette players,
Dude,
turntables
no, come
and
on,
stuff like that.
carrier pigeons, man, come on.
Carrier pigeon.
like, growing
They're
up,
extinct now, by the way,
Morse
but
code. Beep beep beep
my
beep
my
beep
best
beep.
friend, his dad was a plumber. And when I was like 10, 11 years old, like, his dad didn't even have a cell phone. He had a satellite phone. Carry it around in a, like, little briefcase thing. And, it wasn't, you know, it was dollars per minute to talk on this thing, you know. And, and from that to by the time I graduated high school, you know, having a cell phone that cost me $30 a month for 300 minutes, like,
oh yeah. I
yeah,
mean, like high school. I mean, I started off middle school. My first phone being a flip phone.
yeah, I remember when flip phones
I
came
didn't
out.
even have a QWERTY keyboard. I had to do the ones and the twos. It was like the old Nokias,
I had
right?
to
You could
type
play
on a
Snake on it.
keypad. Oh yeah.
And my second phone after I broke the Nokia somehow. I know it has
Oh.
happened. I know people meme about Nokias aren't breakable. It
I
does
had one
happen.
of those phones. I had one of those phones.
I did drop mine off a six-story building onto concrete. It still worked after, but it was really bad after. And then I had
Sometimes it
a
screamed at me and started
Sometimes the
smoking.
world gets better though, because I tell you what, I don't miss is the Nextel chirps everywhere.
oh my god, I hate that thing.
Uh,
I'm
it,
still surprised pagers are still being used by hospitals.
well, they've got their uses, but even the pagers that they got are kind of like push to talk cell phones. It's kind of like the old Nextels were.
I remember those old Nextels. I wanted one as a kid. I thought it'd be so cool to go boop
Yeah,
boop.
it
Shit,
really
what else
wasn't.
is
Like, nobody wants to
you
hear your conversation
we
in Walmart.
oh my god. And then you had internet, man. Just like dial up to now. It's like, whoa,
Yeah,
internet. Like I think computers got so much cheaper.
yeah.
I wish they were cheap when I bought mine.
The same video file for this is already way more than the 1 gigabyte of hard drive space that my first computer had.
You had
I
1 gig of hard drive
guarantee.
space. I had like it was a half of a gigabyte on my dad's 1993 laptop, compact NAT laptop.
Nice.
It still works, by the way.
Dang.
And boy, that thing was slow. Still works. You could actually plug it straight into the wall because it had the AC/DC power supply built into it.
Nice.
So
Actually, you know what? I take it back. That 1 gigabyte was my second computer. I had one before that my friend's mom gave me, and it had enough memory that I could install Diablo 1, and that was it.
remember floppy disks?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
that's what it had on it. Floppy disk, and it had a CD drive, But that was it.
Remember CD drives? Because they don't
Yeah.
even exist anymore in our world.
Oh, and the old zip drives that uh, they held 100 megabytes of data, and that was absolutely insane.
It was like the cassette drives, right?
No, the zip drives. They look like bigger. They were about the same dimension, length and width, but they were a little thicker than the 3.5 inch floppies.
Oh, yeah. I remember those things.
We
Those
sent
were like
people to the
little mini.
moon with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and now I can't even open up a Chrome tab with that.
Dude, my computer, my desktop right now is running at like I think 42 gigs of RAM usage.
Mine has 32. Oh my god. Even with
Yeah.
that, I'm like, 2 Chrome tabs, I'm done. I can't open no more.
I just
Let's
I
not
find it
talk about it. I have Raspberry Pis that have more RAM than my computer does.
uh yeah, I have 64 gigs of RAM on my computer.
I got really ripped off with my computer, and I'm still upset about it to this day.
How'd you get ripped off of your computer?
So it's a 1650 Ti and 32 gigs of RAM, DDR4, um,
Mhm.
and an Intel i5. I think it's like a 97,000.
He
But it was
decided he wanted to.
$2,000.
He decided he wanted to get into computer gaming in the middle of the whole COVID
It
shortage
doesn't matter. That shouldn't make a computer 1,000 times more expensive.
and cryptocurrency mining.
I didn't even want to do that. I just wanted to play
No, but
Fortnite
everybody
on my
else did.
Xbox.
So my current build is a 5950X, a 3090 Ti with 64 gigs of DDR4, and like a bunch of handful of SSDs that are just. I build computers, and the thing that like survives is the power supply and the SSDs. So they just get. And I always buy a new SSD on every single build, so I just collect SSD drives, I guess. Um, so I did get all my stuff at MSRP, which is pretty dope. Granted, I had to camp out at Market Center for about a week, but you know.
The head
Yeah,
count outside.
I've been looking to upgrade my computer setup because
I told him I'll give him mine, and he can just buy me a new computer for $2,000.
it's
He
like
can just
You
a
pay
spent
me
two
back.
thousand
four.
dollars on a 1616 Ti?
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Did I get ripped
My
off or did I
lord.
not?
Oh my
Please tell
lord.
me. It's a 1650 Ti. Like, what am I
I
gonna do?
so to build my computer, it cost me with a 3090 Ti and a 5950X. It before taxes, obviously. It costed me because I already had the RAM. So and the only thing I needed is a new motherboard. It cost me like 1,500 bucks, 1,600 bucks. Yeah,
I'm gonna go
but
dig a
I got
hole.
I got the 5950X on release day actually. And then it originally had a 30. So pretty much what happened was I went. Actually, I made money off of this computer. Ironically, my computer cost $0. Because or actually, yeah, I'm actually positive $4,000 on this thing actually versus negative. So pretty much what happened was I bought the 5950X, right, and then I went out, got my first graphics card because I was wanting to upgrade my graphics card because I had an old AMD Frontier Edition. So I sold that thing for like $700 during the mining craze because that thing was mining Ethereum like crazy. I got a 6800 at XT. Didn't like it. Sold it to my friend for MSRP for what I paid for because like, hey, whatever, I don't really care. Like you're looking for this graphics card, I don't really care about it because I'm looking to get. So I got a 3070, tried it, hated it. Didn't really think it was a much improvement. Sold that, made like a couple $100 off of that one, and then I bought a 3080, got it, sold that one for a couple of bucks because I was like, this is not really much an improvement over a 3070 or what I originally had. So like, where is this? Like, I was like, I'm expecting this all amazing like performance gain, right? Like, it's gonna happen. So I get a 3090, um, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good, you know. And like now it's like I can actually see like marginal gains over what I originally had, right? So, woo, spending $1,600, right?
Yeah.
So I had that run. I had that mining and gaming. So that was mining and gaming at the same time. And I think I mined a whole Ethereum out of that thing. And then I sold that one for like $800 or $700, and I bought a 3090 Ti for $900, brand new, because EVGA was just
3090?
fire selling them
How
Mm.
what's the
for
retail on
that.
like 3080s? Just used cheap
Before the
mining
price
cards.
hike, 3080s were the most sought after card. They were about, I think it was like $600, 700, $800, if I remember correctly.
Well, what's the best
MSRP,
card I could get for like $10?
$10. OPO. So I mean, it's all good. I mean, it just depends on how much you really want to do and how much you wanted to plan for it. I
What
ended
about
up
like a
just chill.
2060, 2070? Because that'd be like a plus 200% boost to my
Yeah,
current.
I don't know. They really screwed you over to 1660 Ti, my man.
I know. I'm like dying over here, struggling, trying to just run
Well,
Google.
he was like, "Yeah, dude, I made money off my stuff."
I lost like a solid
All its
$1,500.
value, because the 1660 Ti right now, like, it's their MSRP, their eBay like $100 right now or something. So like
I'm gonna
it's
go dig that hole, but a little bit deeper.
So I'm
You're
gonna
like zero to 100 real quick. I mean, 100 to 0 real quick.
I'm gonna pull you back to some other stuff I know you got going on though.
Yeah.
So you're making the PCBs, and I know you just got a pick and place machine. What do you got
Oh
going on
yeah.
with that?
Yeah. So in high school, this actually started with crypto. I wanted to build my own ASICs miners. So I always wanted a pick and place. And then in college, I was like, oh, I'm going to build a 3D printer to build my pick and place, right? That never happened. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to get a CNC mill and we're going to build a pick and place, with, like, I can mill some parts out of it. And then now I was like, screw this. What do I need to do to justify buying a picket place as a business? And I was like, I'll just make LED boards. And then, like, I first started off hand placing them, and then, like, just shelling them off on the more on Discord. And then I moved over, and for one month, there's like a bunch of people that ordered a huge amount of LEDs. I spent like 2 weeks straight just hand placing pick LEDs. I was like, this is no, no, I'm done. So I went out. I was like, and I bought a pick and place. I bought a T2 off of AliExpress, and it came in a week and fully assembled. So originally I wanted to get the Opalo, and I was like, okay, well, originally I thought this was an $800 pick and place. Now it's like $2,000, and I have to put it together pretty much. And it doesn't have linear rails. I'm just like, what am I spending this on? I was like, yeah, I guess I could support a project, but like that's to me, like, that value proposition is gone. I mean, if I can get something from China that's like literally half the price at a much better built machine, then I will, because it's just, it's fully built steel, stainless, like with steel chassis and linear rails and everything. So yeah, so now I'm making PCBs under generic fab is what we're calling it, or generic printer, one of those two.
Yeah,
And pretty much going to start off with just making your typical discos on the sticks. Everything's on the sticks. And then I have a couple of my own stuff coming in. Is the high density sequins. I just finished building. They work, which is great. Great feeling when something you have works. And then the high density barfs. Currently debugging right now. I don't know why they're not working. So I'm gonna hand build one, see what happens, and then I'm working on a diversity on a stick, which should be functional after V1 had a messed up,
What is
messed up.
diversity on a stick?
So diversity on a stick. The reason why I call it diversity on a stick is because it contains RGB, right? It
Okay.
contains white, which is just your normal white light. It contains UV and infrared. So it practically covers everything you would want
Oh,
for.
so it's a light strip. I was like, what is he making? Is it just like a random stick from his yard and he's like
No, no,
carving
no. It's a light
diversity
stick
into it?
PCB. It's about like this big. and
Okay.
it has everything in there. It has like 40 RGB LEDs, about another 40 white LEDs in there, 16 UV LEDs. So it's pretty much just like if you ever wanted a lighting solution and you didn't know whether you wanted RGB or UV or white, this just solves all your problems. Just buy one of these. It's like one and done.
How much
You'll
more
never have.
expensive than just normal LEDs and like all of them just separately?
Yeah, that's gonna be like a $20 light stick, man. There's like literally almost 100 LEDs on this thing. So it's definitely gonna be
Oh
like a
boy.
$20 stick for now. And then I have the high density sequins, which is little sequin. Let me go grab one actually. Oh,
Hmm.
got you a nice little so just to see the size this thing is, right? So this is like the size of your normal bar LED that's in your stealth burner. This is my high density version, so I packed double the density. I packed like 25.
Are they charged? Yeah, they're crazy small.
I'm not picking up any audio from him on OBS.
Hold on one second here. We got it. Our headphones died, so I'm trying to switch them around. You'll have to unpair that from your phone.
I did. I also don't think we're picking up any audio from him on OBS.
No, when my headset died, it
Gave up.
hold on one second. Hold on one second here. Let's see. Audio output capture.
Commercial break.
Uh, let me get these paired and then I can fix that.
Man, your headphones do die quite quickly.
They weren't charged all the way, but
Uh,
are they turned on in the pairing mode? Your things?
yeah. They just always constantly try to connect.
They don't show up.
I don't know what to say. Try a little harder? I don't know.
I don't know. We're at 2 hours on this anyway. Let me add audio output capture.
Yeah, my Bluetooth's off. Whew.
Oh shit.
Oh wow. Hopefully everything's all right.
Oh yeah. We got the last update from him was uh, we talked about a lot of liquor today, a lot of whiskeys. That's a lot of whiskey talk.
Okay, so we got that.
Hey, you just have to scooch over and you can hear on that, I guess. All right, I got your audio recording back.
This
Nice.
is like the wrong ear.
It shouldn't be.
Are you sure? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
you're
positive.
right. It is. It's just like a very not
Yeah.
ergonomic fit.
Yep.
So
But
yeah,
last
so
time,
you
yep.
got the little sequence going and the diversity that I've been waiting on for a while.
It's just because it's like I get it, but then it's like, oh wait, I had to pay shipping for the PCBs. It's like, oh, I'm going to combine the order, and it's like, oh well, this is all going to be go. Well, but they were fixed. I hope I'm going to make one, and I'll see if it's actually fixed.
Yeah.
Um, and then the diversities, and then we have I'm finishing. I already finished designing the. Pretty much what I did is I put a RP2040 with CAN bus onto a M.2. So the goal of that is to be like a CAN expander, and it's also going to be how I'm designing my high voltage servo driver. So that just slots into the driver, so you can have normal I/O, which is step direction, right? Like a dumb driver, and then you have the motherboard itself will have a STM on it as well, and then you have a RP2040 with a CAN bus. So if you want to use it with Kepler you can, and then remove that. And there's a STM version I'm working on right now too. And then after the STM version, I will make an EtherCAT version because I love EtherCAT. I think that's like the best thing ever. Best thing since sliced bread. And then that slide into that. And the whole idea of the high voltage servo driver is that I'll have 3 versions. One that's from 0 volts all the way up to like 80 volts, and also drive normal stepper motors as well. So the whole idea is that you buy one of these motherboards, and if you decide to go, for instance, BLDCs, right? The only thing you have to change out is the power drive stage on that thing, which is modular. So you just unzip it off, put a new one in, and then bolt it back down. And then now you have instead of a stepper motor driver, you have um, a 150 volt DC BLDC driver, and then or if you want to go 220, you have a 220 version driver, right? So that's kind of how I'm trying to design this, which is really not fun because there's a lot of high voltage clearances I have to deal with,
Yeah.
a lot of high voltage clearances. But after design for the parameters there, you're pretty much going to be like really highly modular system. So the motherboard is going to be expensive. I think estimating about like the uh, MSRP to be like $100 or something. But effectively, what that gives you 4 axes, and you have to buy the individual drivers, right? So it's like for instance like your TMC drivers,
Yeah.
except you can go from stepper motors, open loop stepper motors to closed loop stepper motors with like zero work because it's the same. You just connect an encoder, right? And then you can go from stepper motors to BLDCs, swap out the power gate, and then if you wanted to up the voltage to 220, you just swap the power gate again. Or you might just get the 220 version and just run out 110, whatever. So
Yeah.
it's
What do you?
designed to be pretty friendly to things. You can also drive your stepper motors at 220 volts if you really wanted to. Not sure you really wanted to, but that's like 48 volts. Why do you have 48 volts if you can just have fully rectified AC 220, which is like 250 volt DC driving your printer? I wonder how fast you can push your Voron now.
Yeah, I was gonna say speed bench. You guys are gonna love you.
They'd be like, we can't cool it, so they're just gonna be like literally printing in like underwater or something, or in Antarctica. But
Liquid
yeah,
cooling on your 3D printer.
Yeah, while
yeah. So
while you're recycling your Tesla batteries in liquid nitrogen, you're also using it to.
Cool down your
yeah,
3D printers.
cool down your 3D printer. But yeah, no, that's kind of the goal is because I just feel like there's really no good solution right now for 100 volt plus drive because like I'm in America for now, right? Uh, and 220 is not easily accessible, and all of my servo drivers are 220. So like I have to go get like transformer. It's very inconvenient. I just want something. And if you go like 48 volts on your Voron, you have to buy a power supply, and then you have to buy this power supply, and then that adds cost to it. So instead of buying like hypothetically, you can drive your stepper motors at 110, at wall outlet perfectly fine. It will be terrifying to watch, but technically you could. Whether you should is another opinion. But
We'll
pretty
ask
much you
that
can.
question afterwards.
Yeah, we'll ask that question. But pretty much at the
we
end of the day, I mean, if you factor in like you have to swap out your control board already, you have to add a 48-volt power supply, and a nice 48-volt power supply is like $80, and you swap out your controller, that's another $80, right? And then you have to buy the drivers, right? So that's like $20 a pop, right? So you buy two of them because you only really need two. So you're in the hole already for like you're already in the hole for $150,
Yeah.
give or take, for high voltage, right? Assuming if you didn't start off with a high voltage compatible controller, right? And if you did, that's 80, 60, $80 off the MSRP, at the how much you're in a hole. But I mean, at that point, it's like, I mean, yeah, sure, my motherboard's expensive, but like if you just get it before you build, you can, it'll handle everything you can ever need until you decide to go three-phase 380 volts. Then I can't really help you at
Yeah.
that point.
So
So like,
I
so yeah,
coming from a world where everything is three phase
yeah.
AC, like
Well, actually, technically, the 220 volt version can handle 380 volt AC rectified to DC because I'm designing the board, the 220 version, to handle 1,000 volts.
oh wow.
So, because well, you have to realize it's not the voltage you're putting in, but when you're decelerating a BLDC. And another reason why I'm building this is for my CNCs. So when I'm decelerating my 12,000 RPM AC servo motor, right,
Yeah,
to
you're
zero,
backfeeding.
you're backfeeding all of that. Like I have seen my VFD voltage go from 350 volts to 800 volts when that thing is trying to stop. And that is like, I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of power going for there. Like, I have a 2.2 kilowatt braking resistor. Like, that is, and it gets so hot, I accidentally touched it and my fingerprints got seared onto it.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
you can use that as a
you're
hot
playing
plate.
in a whole different sandbox than most of us.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is. I come from a machine tool background, so I guess Vulcan Machine Co. was something after Hydra. So me and my boy would decide to making a 3-axis VMC shouldn't be that hard, but it's actually really hard to make a good one. Not just to make one, but to make a good one because the world doesn't need another shitty machine. That's what I learned because you can always go to China and get a shitty machine and whatever, but if you actually want to get a solid machine, it's really hard to make one of those things, and it
Yeah,
costs a lot of money.
if you're trying to enter into a pretty saturated market, you better be either
yeah.
A, way cheaper than everybody else, or B, way better than everybody else.
So the cheaper only works if you have volume, is what we learned. Because we couldn't make the machine any cheaper. There's just the only way we can make it cheaper is to send off production to China. Because the second most expensive thing was labor. So we got
Yeah.
rid of all the labor, we can cut the price down. But we didn't want to do that because we still wanted to make it here. So our goal was to only go up. So I mean the final version that we're building is
Seems like the
before we
perfect job for a child.
I know. Well, the final version we're building is it's going to be what we wanted the machine to be. It's going to run Phonic, Fanic. It's going to have a 24 tool side mount tool changer bolted to it. Our goal is to increase the acceleration to like 2 to 3 Gs. It's kind of our goal, but I don't think it's going to go past 1.5 Gs of acceleration. And keep in mind, this is a CNC machine, right? Like its head weighs as much as two of your V 2.4s, if it
Yeah.
like we have like probably about like 220 pounds moving around in the head. Not even
What
What is
include
this needed
what
for?
are you using machine wise? Are you
what
what are you using
like
on there for your tool heads?
BT30. It's a
What is this
BT30
needed for?
spindle.
Are you like
It's a CNC
engineering
machine.
the next Iron Man suit or something?
Oh,
No.
it's just a VMC. It's a very simple tool, 3-axis VMC. You can do a lot of things with that. But it was designed. The original design was that it could fit through a door. Turns out that was not necessary. It could fit through a 32-inch door, a 34-inch door, and we're talking like a 4,000 pound VMC.
Jesus. Yeah,
So,
it could fit through a door if you could push it.
but
if you can push it. So
uh,
Your wheels
I
don't
must say
squeak.
that anybody that's got a floor that's going to support that
Definitely has
probably has a
wider
roll up.
doors.
or a garage door.
Yeah.
Or a loading dock, right? So it's like we're like, okay, why did we do that? That's like a dumb design decision. Like if we kept the machine weight to like under 1,000 pounds, then yes, that's a great design point. But like it's almost 4,000 pounds. It's gonna crack every feet of floor if it's not concrete at that point. You know, like
I don't feel like going to build a cinder block wall underneath of my
My living room
second
floor.
bedroom floor so I can put that and I don't know a very large safe on there. Like,
but I mean, like, so yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the world I'm coming from. And I started off with 3D printers, went to CNC mills. Now I'm back with 3D printers with assembly electronics. And I'm going to school for AI and electrical engineering, which is kind of filling the gaps that I didn't learn while I was in college. Because I wanted to really learn more about FPGAs and stuff like that. So and I really wanted to kind of merge FPGAs and just AI together um, more cohesively and put and integrate something like that into my CNC machines to make the operator's life a little easier. So yeah, that is kind of what I'm doing. Whether it's going to work out or not, I don't know because worst case scenario, I'll just go get a DoD job.
yeah, and then
So
after that, we won't be talking about what you're doing on a podcast anymore.
yeah, it's kind of
Whole
hilarious
life
because
story.
one of my boys does a bunch of DoD contracts, and he's just like, "Yo, I need help building power supplies," and I go over there to build power supplies, right? And I look at it, and they're using, those recon. I'm not sure if you know this, but like, so on DigiKey, you can buy pre-built DC to DC like converters, right? That
Hmm.
are pre-built. You have your power stage and everything in there. They're like $300 a pop. And I look at their power supply. There's four of them on this one board. I just sat there, just like that's like an $800 board right now I'm looking at just in components. Like I was like, and he was like, "Oh, I need you to make 30 of these." And I'm just like, I don't want to screw up now
Yeah.
because I'm gonna scrap a $30 board, a very expensive board. So um, that was fun.
Yeah, government
Definitely
looks
was a
at
don't
that
screw
kind
up
of money
moment.
different.
Yeah, that's DoD. I think they did something. It's for secure comms stuff. I'm not sure the exact details of it, but something on that end, and that's all I know. So, and that's probably all I can say. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to work DoD. That's also another thing. When I was applying to graduate schools, I was it's like if I do robotics, great. I got to continue thinking. If I do aerospace, clearly, you know, God wants me to go build a go DoD. Obviously, at that point, if I get into aerospace engineering,
Yeah.
because that's something that it was always fascinating to me as a kid. So
Yeah, I'm looking at going back for I never went to college, so I'm looking at going to college for electrical engineering. I've been looking at it for a few years. It's just a lot of things haven't the stars haven't lined up to make that possible, but
you can
it's
MIT has a lot of their courses online, so you can kind of look at it if that would be something that interests you.
yeah, um we've got a tech school, Marion Technical College here in town, and
Yep.
then that'll get me an associate's, and then we
So
have
you're thinking about getting your associates then, right? Not your bachelor's.
I gotta get the associates first, but it's a lot cheaper to get the associates through the technical college, and then right next door to the technical college is a branch of OSU, and I can finish out bachelor's or master's or whatever I wanted to do at that point at OSU, but I could pay a lot less for that associate's degree.
Yeah, you're breaking up right now, video wise. Yeah.
Let me look.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I feel like college degrees are going to get changed up in a couple of years, anyways. At this point, right now, it's just not working in the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, right now the stars haven't aligned to be able to make that possible. Um, Seems like it's always something going on, and I realize that a lot of that, you just got to make it happen. But
Maybe I should also go to school to get my electrical engineering degree.
Oh yes, the absolutely suffering of degrees where protons, you're literally dealing with electrons that don't want to flow correctly. Did you know that there's actually something called it's like phantom flips or something, and it's when like your code, it's like we're all 10 10 10 binary
Yeah.
code, right? It is a phenomenon in which it happens where your 1 and 0, your 1 becomes a 0 and a 0 becomes 1, not because you wrote it, but just something just randomly happens because of that
What?
in the
That
silicon
doesn't
level.
make any sense. Why would someone do that?
Yep. And that's why, the difference between a military grade aircraft and a commercial grade aircraft is like they have like five flight computers on it versus the commercial has like one or two. It's because it's redundancies in case of that to happen, and stuff like that and other stuff. So you're, yeah, electrical engineering is fun, but it's something that I very much enjoy, and that's kind of how I got to pick a place because I want to build my own servo drives and all that other stuff. Hopefully, I get to expand it here, before I leave, and hand it over to my business partner, who will be taking over the U.S. side while I'll be in Europe. So
yeah,
I'm pretty excited, either or. So yeah, if you're ever in Copenhagen, come hang out.
I'd like to travel. I was born in Germany, so I'd like to get back to Europe at some point. So,
Oh, how long did you live in Germany?
not long enough to remember. My parents were in the military, so
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
was
okay.
back in the states before I was one. So,
I see, I see, I see. It's all good. It's fun times. I definitely believe traveling the world is necessary. It allows you to be a little bit more grateful for what you have in the States sometimes. Not to like Europe, but like to like a more, you know, not as well off country.
yeah.
Or sorry, not as free country too, because that was ooh, yeah, that was long. Yeah. Like
Ah.
China was oof, oof.
Yeah, I mean,
So much fun.
even in the states, that it varies widely. Like I live in Ohio now, and I lived in New Jersey till I was 26,
Hmm.
and
I still live in Madrid.
it's like living in a different country. The amount of liberty here versus there. So
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people should be a lot more grateful for what they have here versus always bitching and complaining. I'm not saying it's perfect, but better than some parts of the world.
nothing
Oh,
is.
that.
Well,
So, so
we
yeah,
uh we appreciate you coming on to the podcast and taking the time to talk to us a little bit about yourself and what you do. Um, I I know that I've got a lot of your stuff.
and your house isn't on fire yet, so
No,
hopefully it'll be
no.
back.
It's all working, except for the boards that you sent me with the LEDs unattached at my request. And I was going to grab paste solder the other day from Micro Center and finally get those things put together. Um, I got to get with you. I don't know which direction the LEDs go orient on the board.
Uh, hold on. There's a
Yeah,
problem.
Or something. So
my headphones lost audio.